Alrighty, so in this video, what you've all been waiting for, equations of lines. So equations of lines, I know these are bringing back some really great memories from last year. But as we have here with equations of lines, we know slope, which we talked about on Friday. Okay, so we have slope here. That is the equation for slope. As you can see here, all of this work is just getting you all the way from your slope formula to point slope form. So if you're very curious on how to get that, we can totally talk through it at some point. But here, this is your slope formula, and this is point slope. Okay, and next here, going from point slope with a y-intercept, right? You get your y equals mx plus b, which is your y-intercept. All right, so as you can see here, this is just a figure of this here, this point 0 comma b is your y-intercept, and then everything else is just another random point, and then we know our slope is m. Okay, so taking a look here, just a couple little things. So horizontal line is a line, think of like the horizon. So horizontal line, the slope is 0. So what I always say, as I said the other day, you have your little dude here walking across. He can totally walk across the line, right? So our slope is 0. However, our little dude cannot walk up a line. So if we look here at this vertical line, if we draw our little dude, he definitely can't walk up that line, right? He doesn't have superpowers, duh. So here, our slope is undefined. Okay, and just to reference here, the slope, or not slope, the equation for a vertical line is x equals whatever the x value is, and for a horizontal line is whatever the y is for all of them. Okay, and then here, this is just standard form, this final one, right? We have no fractions, and then a has to be positive. Okay, so it can't be a negative. And we're going to touch base on all of those right now, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this one here, this first initial equation, you can use it, but you definitely don't have to if you don't like it. So it's non-vertical line through the points with these coordinates. So it's essentially just the point slope formula and the m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 rewritten in another way. I actually don't suggest this one, so if you'd like to do that one, you're more than welcome to. It's just plugging in those points here that you know for x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, plugging them in, and then you'll be able to find your non-vertical line with those points. The most common ones that we're used to are point slope form, so hence in the name point and a slope, we have here you need a point and you need a slope. You can look here, this is where your point is, right, and here's our slope. Okay, so there's our point and slope. These are equations. The point slope form, this one here, you should know. Slope intercept is one that you should know. So slope intercept, you have your y equals mx plus b. And this one here, you need a slope and you need a point, but this point is not just any other point, it's your y-intercept, right? So if I were to draw a graph here, right, drawing a graph, it's going to be the point that intersects the y-axis. So that point here is the y-intercept, so 0 comma b. Okay, so here m, this is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Okay, next we have our horizontal line, as we've talked about before, right? So our horizontal line, our m equals 0, and the vertical line is our m is undefined. Okay, the equation for horizontal is y equals whatever the y is, and then for vertical is x equals whatever all the x's are. Standard form, ax plus by equals c, so always positive. So your a is always positive and no fractions at any time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and use what we know in those equations to find the following. So it says find the equations of the following line. So all of them are going to have an equation. In this one here, it specifically tells us to express our answer in slope-intercept form, which I have written down. My suggestion is that you guys always write those down when you are told which lines, just because it'll make it easier for you guys in the long run. Okay, so then here it says through these 2 points, okay, express your answer. So first of all, we don't have a slope. We don't know what m equals, and we don't know what b equals, right? So we have a couple things to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take our slope formula where I can go ahead and find the slope, x1, y1, x2, y2. Here I'm going to go ahead and do -7 minus 5 over 4 minus -3. So here -7 minus 5 is -12. 4 minus -3 is going to be a +7. So our slope equals -12 over 7. Okay, so we have our slope. Awesome. But we still don't have our b. So at this point, the next step is going to be, so this is the first step. Our second step will be plugging everything into point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. When in doubt, always go and start into point slope form. As long as you have a point and a slope, it doesn't matter. Plug it into this one when you're not sure what to do. So here, y minus, and I'm just going to pick any random point, and I'll just pick this one here. So then we'll do y minus 5 equals, and then I'm going to plug in the m, plugging in m, which is -12 over 7, times x minus, which actually becomes a +3 because it's a -3. All right, so then from here, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this lovely over here. So we will get y minus 5 equals -12 over 7x, and that's going to become a plus 12 times 3 is 36. Actually, that's a -36 over 7. Okay, so then from here, I'm going to add 5, adding 5. So from here, as you can see, there is a fraction. So we need to get a common denominator. So when we go ahead and do that, I'm actually going to add not just 5, but I'm going to add 5 times 7 over 7, right? 7 over 7. So then from here, we're going to have y equals -12 over 7x minus 36 over 7, right? But then plus, and I'm going to add 35 because 5 times 7 is 35 over 7. So then I can go ahead and combine these two here. So we'll get our final equation to be y equals -12 over 7x, and that's going to definitely be a minus 1 over 7. So our slope-intercept form equation is this here. I do not want any decimals anywhere, so do not have any decimals in your answers. I only want fractions, only fractions here. Okay, which means you will have to be able to add these in your calculator, add them by hand. All right, the next one says here, through this point in this slope, express your answer in standard form. So we were given just a random point and a slope. So here, and it wants it in standard form. So to get to standard form, we actually have to get it into slope-intercept form. So from here, we have no other choice but to go into point slope because this isn't a y-intercept. Whereas if we had, this is just a random old point. Okay, so remember the y-intercept is when we're given that, we can put it into point or slope-intercept form. So here, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So then here I'm going to go ahead and plug in our point. So we have y minus 5 equals, our slope is -2 over 3 times x minus 6. So from here, I'm going to distribute this lovely fraction. So we get y minus 5 equals -2 over 3x. This becomes a positive. This actually reduces, and it's going to be 2 plus 4. Or you can do here, it'll become a 12 over 3, right? And so it'll reduce down to 4. Okay, then I'm going to add 5, lovely there. And then this becomes a y equals -2 over 3x plus 9. Awesome. However, this isn't y. This, or not y. This is our slope intercept form. And we want it into standard form. So to get into standard form, I'm going to have to do some adjusting here. So I'm going to copy this over here. So y equals -2 over 3x minus 9. Straight up, sorry, plus 9. Just copied it over. Okay, nothing fancy, just copied it over. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 over 3x, add 2 over 3x. Okay, that cancels, so we're going to get 2 over 3x plus y equals 9. However, if you remember one of my rules, we can't have a fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything by 3 to clear that fraction. I'm going to distribute it to the x, the y, and the 9. So here we will have just a 2x plus 3y equals 9 times 3 is 27. So here is our standard form of that equation. The next question is asking us to write the equation through the point 0, -7 with this slope and express your answer in slope-intercept form. Wow, look at this. This is a y-intercept and we have a slope, so we are just going to literally plug them in. So y equals, our slope is 5 over 2x, and that's a -7 minus 7, done deal. That's it. So when you have your y-intercept and your slope, you can go ahead and straight up plug it in. If you don't remember, you can just go ahead and plug it into slope or point slope form. All right, so the next question here, I have it down below just because I already have it filled in for you guys, but you have here a point that goes through 4 and 0 with a slope of -3. Express your answer in slope-intercept form. At this point, pause the video and then press play once you finish the problem. Okay, so pause the video, try this problem on your own, and then push play to see the answer. Okay, so here going ahead, we have a random point here, but this is not just any random point, it's the x-intercept. Right, so I drew it on here. It's the x-intercept. There's anything fancy that we can do, but what I am going to do is I'm going to plug it in. So here's our y and there's our x. There's our slope. When we plug it in, there's our answer in slope-intercept form. Okay. All right, next here, going through 4, 7, and -2, 7. So here you're given 2 points. My piece of advice is to plug it into your slope formula. So this will be 7 minus 7 over -2 minus 4. We'll get 0 over -6, which is 0. So if our slope equals 0, that means we have a horizontal line. If we have a horizontal line, and I'm not sure, if I can't remember, if a horizontal line, what does that look like? Okay, so it means it's going to be intersecting the y-axis here, right? Okay, so that means our equation is going to be y equals something. And it's going to be y equals whatever number happens multiple times in the 2 points. So it's going to be y equals 7, right? Because it's where our line is going to be going across on the y-axis. There we go. Next here, -3, 8, and -3, -6. This one here, I want you guys to take a notice. The -3's happen 2 times. Wow, look at that. Okay, so if those happen 2 times, if I were to graph this, -3, 8, -3, -6. Oh, this is a vertical line. This is vertical, so since it is vertical, we know that it's going to be an x equals, and whatever x is happening twice is going to be our equation. So here, x equals -3, and we know that that slope is undefined. Okay, so this next question here, I'm going to walk you guys through it. So it says through this point and it's parallel to this line. Okay, so express your answer in slope-intercept form, which we have that here. So slope-intercept form. Now, it's asking, though, for us to go ahead and find the equation. So we need to find the slope. It's clearly the same slope as the other one, so that's going to be that -3 or 3 over 5. So we're going to take that there, and then we're going to take the new point and the slope and plug it into point slope form. Once we plug it into point slope form, we'll be able to get our final answer and get it to y equals 3/5, 3 over 5x minus 37 over 5. At this point, my suggestion is for you to go ahead and try this one and work through it, and then go ahead and push play again. The next question, my suggestion to you as well, is also pause the video and try it on your own. But now it's saying through the y-intercept of this standard form equation here with a slope of 2, express your answer in standard form. Okay, so we need to go through the y-intercept, so we need to find what the y-intercept is. So it's going to be 0 comma something, which when you get it into y equals mx plus b, that's whatever your b is going to be, you're going to plug it into that point and use that point to get your equation. So if you want to go ahead and try doing that now, and then go ahead and pause the video and come back. Okay, so then here we're going to get our final answer. So you find your y-intercept by plugging in by either getting it into slope-intercept form, or what you can do is actually plug 0 in for your x, because that's why you have x here. And then at this point, then you can go ahead and solve for whatever y is, and then use that there. That's actually one really great way to do it, but another way, if that's a little confusing, is going ahead and rewriting this into y equals mx plus b. Okay, so you can either write it as y equals mx plus b, or go ahead and take that, knowing that the y-intercept is 0 comma some number, right? 0 comma some number, and then taking that 0 and plugging it in. So if you remember finding your x and y-intercepts that way. Then from there, we find out what that y-intercept is, and we just have our slope here. So once it's in standard form. So we go ahead and we have y equals 2x, your slope, minus 3, that y-intercept. We're going to subtract 2x over. When you subtract 2x over, those cancel. And then at this point, you have negative 2x, so you need to get a positive. So that's when we're going to multiply by negative 1. Remember, when you're going to do that, you have to distribute it to all of the terms, every single one of them. And then you'll get your final answer in standard form. Okay, so next here we have graphing. Okay, so graphing. I hope this is a fond memory of ours, if my screen will scroll. All right, here we go. So it says sketch the graphs looking at number 9. We have here y equals 2x minus 5. Our slope is 2. Our b value is going to be the 5, and the y-intercept is written as the point. Okay, so at this point, where we go is we begin at 5. You always start at your y-intercept. So graphing the y-intercept at negative 5, and then we're going to go up to 1, 2 over 1. Up to 1, 2 over 1. Remember, slope is rise over run. Okay, so up 2 over 1, and then we'll get our line. Notice how beautiful my line is, so be very careful when you guys are graphing your line. All right, number 10. This one here is a nice fun one. So this is y equals 4. As you see here, we know, and I wrote this down above, our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Now, we have nothing there, right? So if I were to go ahead in this next step and say y equals 0 times x plus 4, well, that would get me the y equals 4. So that means our slope equals 0, and that means we have a horizontal line. So at this point, you're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to have your line, and you're going to go directly across and draw it here. And remember, it's horizontal. Think horizon. Okay, next graphs here. We have, sorry, my screen isn't working very well right now. Next question, we're going to graph it. So here it's y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 2. So negative 2 over 3x plus 2. So that means our slope is negative 2 over 3. So our line is going to be decreasing. And then our b is 2. And then this is just the y-intercept. Right? So it's the same thing as the b. It's just written as the ordered pair. So the first thing you do is you go ahead and you graph that y-intercept. You graph that here. And then you move with the slope. So it's negative 2, 3. So you're going to go down 2, 1, 2, and then over 3. There's your next point. Down 2, 1, 2, over 3. Now again, notice how beautiful this line is. I have plenty of points across. My line is straight. It's not zigzagged or crooked, anything like that. The next question here is x equals negative 3. Notice how it's x equals negative 3. Well, we don't have anything else as x equals, right? So from here, x equals, so your x is going to be negative 3. And at this point, this is where you draw your line, right, going up and down. When you don't have a y equals something and it's an x equals, just to know that that's going to be undefined and you'll have the vertical line. Last, this is a nice fun one. So my suggestion is I would honestly probably always go ahead with these ones. So in this next question, and I'm actually going to erase my work here because I don't want to reference that. The reason I'm not going to reference that, and it's something that we'll talk about, but I think with these questions, when you're given an equation in slope or in standard form, the best way to do it is just go ahead and rewrite it into slope-intercept form. So from here, as you can tell, I subtracted by 2x, subtracted 2x to the other side, that canceled out, and then we were left with this step here. Okay, so negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. when we divide everything by -3, and I'm actually going to rewrite this here, it's not just the end, it's also this 2x, -2x. So -3 divided by -3, and then we'll get our equation in slope-intercept form. So then we can plot here our b value, which is -3, and then it's a positive slope, right, because it's a negative and a negative. So up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, and then down 2 over 3, and that's kind of all we can fit. All right, that is it. I'm sorry this lesson was so long. There's just so many we need to cover. If you have questions, just let me know.